Welcome back, friends, to another video here on the channel. Today, we're going to be taking a closer look at the PlayStation 5 DualSense Controller. We've recently unboxed it here on the channel. I'll leave a link down in the description below for that if you guys missed that. I'm so excited. I'm so giddy that we're moving into next gen, just to be able to get a hands-on with a piece of next gen hardware, being the controller. It's just super exciting for me. I can't wait to unbox the consoles here on the channel for you guys, and we're going to have a bunch of content. If you are new to the channel, we do variety gaming content. We talk about the games, we play the games, best of both worlds, so keep it locked. It's going to be crazy. It's gonna be a lot of content for next gen, and I'm super excited, man. I'm like a big kid. Anyways, today we're gonna be taking a look at the PlayStation 5 controller a little bit more in depth. Gonna be talking about different kinds of accessories, like the back button will work on it, for example. What kind of headphones you can use with it. Kontrol Freeks and different things like that. If you guys are not familiar with the Kontrol Freeks, I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. And I will forewarn, I am sponsored by Kontrol Freek. I know a lot of people think that when you're sponsored by a company, a YouTuber sponsored by a company, they have a bias. That's not the case with me. I wanted to get sponsored by Kontrol Freek because I love their products. I would never take a sponsorship unless I actually truly believed in the product. I actually started using them, I think, back around the Call of Duty Advanced Warfare days. I was not sponsored by them back then. You can go check out my videos back then if you guys want to just confirm what I'm saying to you right now. I was promoting the products back then long before I was ever sponsored. I think that was like 2 or 3 years before I ever got sponsored by them. So anyways, yeah, so being sponsored though, if you do plan to pick up any Kontrol Freeks on our website, KontrolFreek.com, you can use code JSkeleton to get 10% off. I get a little bit of a kickback from that. You don't have to use my code. I'm just saying that if you do want 10% off your purchase and want to help support the channel, you could do that. Or if you already have Kontrol Freeks, then I'll let you know if they work on the DualSense 5 controller. So anyways, we'll talk a little bit more about the Kontrol Freeks and the DualSense 5 controller and all that in a little bit. First, I want to get the kind of more obvious thing out of the way. So I've had a lot of people ask me, well, not a lot of people, I've had a couple people ask me, that, will I be able to plug in my headphones into the controller? The answer is yes. There is a headphone jack right on the bottom if my camera will focus. There you guys have it right there. So I'm going to take the tip of my Astro A40s, which is just your standard headphone jack, unless it's Apple, where they have this weird proprietary jack, and it just plugs in, look, just like that. You see? It plugs in, simple as that, no issues. So yes, you can plug in headphones. Now, apparently that is one way to get that 3D audio or whatever. I'm pretty sure that's what Sony confirmed. The other way that audio is sent is through HDMI. So if you do have something like me where I have, like, hold on here. Well, I don't know if I can really show you. I can't really show you guys without unplugging it. But Astro creates these things called mix amps. So I plug in my headset into a mix amp. Then that mix amp is powered via USB, and I get the the audio through optical cable, right? New consoles are not going to have optical cable. The way that's going to work is on Xbox, Series X and Series S, going to be through USB, and then through PS5. Some companies like Astro, they're creating this little adapter. It's an HDMI adapter, so it's like an HDMI pass-through that adds an optical port on that little adapter, so you can actually plug your headset into that, and the HDMI video and audio is passing through that, so it just kind of acts like a little pass-through. Does that make sense? So you would obviously need a second HDMI cable at that point, because then you have one HDMI cable going from your console to the little adapter, and then from the adapter to your screen. And then if you're like me and you're a content creator that has like an Elgato, then you're gonna have another pass through with that as well. So anyways, that's how that's gonna work, in case you're wondering how your audio is gonna work. Because I had a couple people wondering how the headphones work. That's basically how it's gonna work. If you have any questions further beyond that, leave them down in the comments below. I'll do my best to answer them. Or if you want a special video on that, we can make that as well once new consoles come out. Now, one of the other things people are wondering, does this back button work? I like this back button. It's really cool. It adds these paddles. It's kind of like a cheap man's scuff. And it's really cool. It's really handy. It was like, what, 30 bucks Canadian, I think? I don't remember. Anyway, so a lot of people are wondering, will this work? The sad answer is no. And there's one specific reason. So if you look at the ports right here, there's the headphone jack, but there's also like this little like black thing. I don't know if you guys can see it right beside the headphone jack. And the PS5 DualSense controller doesn't have that. So on the PS4 controller, yes, I have them on my floor for whatever reason. You can see that there's the headphone jack, and then there's that little extra EXT port, right? Well, I don't know. I can't. You see it. Anyways. But on the PS5 DualSense controller, it does not have that. It's just a headphone jack. Again, camera doesn't want to focus for whatever. Hey! Right there. There you go. Just a headphone jack. So, unfortunately, no, back button won't work. It literally just came out not long ago, like within the last year. and it's not going to work. It's going to work on your PS4 controller because you can use PS4 controllers on your PS5 to play backwards compatible games. So if you're playing a PS4 game on your PS5, you can use your PS4 controller. So you can still use it technically on a PS5 in that sense, but not with the DualSense controller. And obviously you can't use the PS4 controller for PS5 games. So if you're playing PS5 games, the short answer is no, you can't use that. Kind of sucks, I know. The next thing is Kontrol Freeks. So we're getting back to the Kontrol Freek thing. Now, obviously, Kontrol Freek, they're going to plan to make, you know, special Kontrol Freeks for next-gen consoles. So even if these ones do fit, which I'm assuming they will because these sticks are very, very similar on both controllers. As you guys can see, like the size are very similar. It's focusing on my face. Why? Why does it focus on my face? No one wants to see my face. They want to see the controllers. Anyways, so it's probably going to fit. I'll show you guys right now. We're going to test it out. So this is a Black Ops 3 Kontrol Freek, which is for PS4, and we're gonna see right now. So I typically like to have a stick on the right, like a Kontrol Freek on the right stick, my aiming stick. I'll explain what Kontrol Freeks are in just a second. Your short answer is it's a tight fit. It's a tight fit, but it works. So it does work. Yeah, it works. It fits. So that one works. This one here is a Galaxy Kontrol Freek, which are specifically for the Wii U Pro controller. As you guys can see right here, my Wii U Pro controller has a Kontrol Freek on it, and it's the Galaxy one. So this is for the Wii U controller, but this one, does it fit? Oh, no, this one isn't fitting. This one, you know what's weird? It doesn't, this one doesn't fit on the PS5 one, but it's a tight fit on the PS4 one. So the PS5 sticks are slightly, I guess, bigger than the PS4 sticks. So again, Kontrol Freek are going to make ones that, you know, fit specifically for, you know, these new consoles, these new controllers, because there's obviously, even if it's a slight difference, I mean, that can, you know, make a difference, whether it's, you know, throwing off the stick by a little bit, or, you know, maybe if they're too tight, maybe it's gonna, you know, ruin your stick, right? It has to be a snug fit, a perfect fit, which is why Kontrol Freek kind of measures those things out. So yes, technically PS4 Kontrol Freeks will fit on here, but obviously it's more ideal to get Kontrol Freeks that are built for the PS5 controller, DualSense controller, which whenever Kontrol Freek announces some of those, I'll be tweeting them out and stuff. So if you guys want to follow me, JSkeleton92 on Twitter, I'll retweet and stuff. Again, if you guys buy any Kontrol Freeks, you can use code JSkeleton to get 10% off your purchase. Don't have to, but if you want to, that's an option. If you do though, let me know so I can give you guys a thanks. And if you tweet at me, I'll retweet it and all that good stuff. So anyways, but yeah, so they do work, but you'll probably want to get the new ones. Because, you know, they'll be built specifically to fit this stick. So the sticks are very similar in size, but it seems like these are a little bit slightly bigger. I think the reason is that because, like, on the PS4 controller, you can see the edges don't really have much of a texture. Whatever, you guys get the idea, right? Whereas the PS5 DualSense controller, okay, right there, you can see that there's a textured grip on the stick. So I think that extra texture adds that little bit of, I guess, makes it a little bit, you know, bigger. Furthermore, the last thing I want to mention is because I've gotten hands-on with it the past couple days. Originally, when I unboxed it, I mean, obviously, first impressions was like, whoa, this is sick. This is next gen. One thing I mentioned in that unboxing video, it feels premium. It feels a lot more hefty. When you compare it to a DualShock 4 controller, the DualShock 4 controller kind of feels like a McDonald's toy. So if I grab this, I mean, if you look at the two, right, maybe you can't notice the difference. I mean, maybe you can. I mean, this one, well, this one especially because it's orange, because it's the Black Ops 3 one, you know, that gives it a more toy-like feature. But holding it, this feels more like cheap and plasticky. This feels more heavy and premium. One of the reasons for that is obviously these have like just standard rumbles in the handles. These have like a bigger motor for the haptics in the handles. Again, if you watch people that have torn down these controllers, that's what's going on. Also, the triggers have this like crazy in-depth mechanism that is for the adaptive trigger. So basically the way these triggers work under here is basically there's this like little, well, there's a motor that spins this like piston that spins this gear that makes this latch go up and down. So for example, if you're playing a game and the developers program the game, like let's say a shooter game where, you know, your gun jams and they want you to not be able to push your trigger down, the motor spins up, the gear turns, and it spins this little latch up and locks the latch in place so you can't push your trigger down. or if they wanted to just increase tension, then, you know, the little latch will go up and it'll slowly kind of like release, so it feels a little bit tighter and harder to push. So there's something kind of like, you know, adding that tension there. That's how that works. There's a whole mechanism there. The haptic feedbacks, obviously, there's just a lot more going on in here. Apparently the sticks, the actual sticks, like underneath, like not these parts, not the part you touch, but the actual mechanism is the exact same as on the PS4 controllers. So there's a lot of concern that might, you know, we might get controller drift on these as well. Again, there's a bunch of people that basically tore these down, and those were some of the things that they were noting that I noticed. The touchpad's a little bit bigger, but overall, right? Overall, when I'm holding it, right? At first, I thought maybe it was a little bit too bulky. That was kind of my first impression. Like, I loved it. It felt hefty. It felt premium. Part of me thought, well, maybe it feels a little too bulky, but now the more I've gotten hands-on with it, I like it. I think it's one of those things where if you're used to the PS4 DualShock 4 controller, you're gonna have to adapt to this one. At first, it might throw you off a little bit. Like, you'll have a mixed reaction, most likely. If you're like me, you'll be like, oh, okay, you know, this feels good, but at the same time, you'll be like, well, I think it's just because it's different. It feels really good in the hands the more I hold it. So there is that. The only thing I'm not crazy about, which I don't think will be a big issue, I think, again, we'll just have to adapt to, is that the triggers, or not the triggers, the shoulder buttons, the L1 and R1, are thicker. They are much thicker on this controller, excuse me, than on the PS4 DualShock controller. So normally when you're, you know, you're pushing the triggers, what I would do is I would go center my fingers over the shoulder buttons to push them. But because these are thicker, there's more travel distance from moving from the triggers to the shoulder buttons, right? So what I figured is that these shoulder buttons, you can see kind of like curved down a bit. So I think that what you could do is just roll your finger here on the edge, and it pushes just fine. It doesn't feel like you're pushing on the edge of it. It feels like the same way as if you push in the middle. So I think maybe that will be it's kind of a thing that maybe you find yourself adapting to, where maybe you don't move your fingers to the exact middle of it. Maybe you just kind of roll your fingers up to the edge of it and push it there. I don't know, but it's not uncomfortable by any means. It's a very, very nice controller. It's very hefty, very premium feeling. I like it. The more I feel it, like I said, the edges of the sticks just grip a lot more because of this texture. The middle doesn't have the texture, so your thumbs fit in there nicely. I like the PlayStation button. I don't think it's a really big deal. Some people were complaining about this. Like, I don't get why it's just a PlayStation button. But the fact that it's like an actual cutout and not like the circle. I mean, I think that's cool. I mean, it's not like one of the main buttons you're going to be using. You're only going to be pushing it for certain things, like to go to your home, like the dashboard of your console, whatever. The other thing I noticed that there's something about these face buttons that feel more like, almost like softer. Now, when I've seen some of these people tear down these videos, what they mentioned is that there was like an extra like rubber in there that I guess just kind of like pads the buttons a little bit more. So I think that's what's going on there as well. And like, because of that, like, listen to this. This is the X button, or cross, whatever you want to call it. Right? On the PS4. On the DualSense. I don't know if you can tell over the mic. I can tell in real life. The DualSense buttons are quieter when you push them down. This is more clicky. And this is a little softer sounding. So I think that extra like rubber padding or whatever you want to call it underneath the buttons adds that. It does give it a little bit of a softer feel, which I don't think is a bad thing. It's just, again, the thing that you have to adapt to. Not a softer feel like in a bad sense. Like, they're still clicky. It still feels like you're pushing down the face buttons like you would on the PS4 controller. It just feels like there's a little bit more padding behind it. But again, if I click them all at the same time, like you can see, they're still clicky, right? Just a little softer, which again, I think is nice. Same thing with the D-pad. You know, D-pad feels very similar. It's still like that typical one-piece D-pad. Not my favorite kind of D-pad. Obviously, I prefer like a one-piece D-pad, especially if you're going to use the D-pad to play games like, you know, Mortal Kombat or stuff like that. Not the best D-pad to use for that, but that's been like that for a long time. Would have been nice to see them kind of switch up the D-pad a little bit, but yeah. And then, of course, you have the speaker, which I haven't been able to hear yet because I haven't, you know, been able to try it. Microphone, apparently you can use it through Audacity. I was actually trying to get it to work for this video. It wasn't working, so if I can get it to work, maybe I'll film a separate video for that. There is a mute button and stuff like that. But yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. The buttons feel like, again, with my time hands-on with it for the past few days, I'm adapting to this. I really, really like it, and I can't wait to actually experience it in-game. Everybody's saying that this is one of the most next-gen things about next generation of consoles is just how crazy this controller is, because it really makes you feel textures and things, the adaptive triggers, you know, with the tension. It's crazy. It's really, really crazy. So I'm really excited about it. I love this controller. The more I get hands on with it, the more I love it. And it just really, really grows on you more and more and more. So if you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. I didn't mean to drag this video on this long. I just wanted to give you guys a little bit more of an in-depth of my thoughts after holding the controller for the past couple days. But again, if you have any questions, let me know. And we got a bunch of more next-gen content for you guys soon. So keep it locked. I'll see you guys very soon. Another one. Stay safe, stay well. And until then, my friends, game on.